I'm happy that happened, especially after everything that game went through. What were you expecting? Hold on, I'll do it the right way. This is what you want. So this morning, I woke and
do an apology video for something that you said might happen in an award show.
Looked at myself in the mirror and I questioned everything about myself. Who is this lie? Who is this shell of a man? You don't even belong on YouTube. How dare you say your opinions on the internet, you fool! I'm so sorry. Now I'm
pretty good YouTube apology video. I'd say it's decent. I think also, I do think that people need to stop posting bullshit. And like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. There's this leak that I heard about, and it said that they're gonna make every character in the new game, they're gonna make them gay and trans. They're gonna be gay, trans, Muslim, atheists. Yeah, no, I heard this from insider information. That's what's gonna happen. Okay.
Getting a game award.
Please stop.
But that doesn't mean that this year's award show isn't without controversy. There's actually plenty of it. Not only are we seeing a poker roguelike slip its way right into the Game of the Year category, but we're seeing a DLC and also even some underhanded or seemingly underhanded changes to the voting process before the nominees went up. Now, one of the things that I've actually seen quite a lot of recently is people asking, why are you even upset in the first place? Who cares about these awards? They're meaningless.
They care about the awards. That's why they made the award show. And if they didn't care about the awards, then they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. This is, again, bro, I hate this. This is the one thing that people do that I hate. It's when they say, oh, it doesn't matter. Bitch, if it didn't matter, you wouldn't have done it. Don't do something and then get mad when other people say, why did you do it?
It's nothing but a show of vanity more than anything else, but I'm here to tell you that they mean a little bit more than that. Many people dismiss the Game Awards as a shallow vanity showcase, a glitzy night where the industry insiders pat each other on the back and there's little substance that comes from it. But this perspective overlooks the tangible benefits that ripple through the industry, particularly for the developers who win and the players who engage with their work. The Game of the Year award in particular serves as more than just a shiny badge. It's a moment of recognition that often carries significant financial and cultural weight. For developers, winning Game of the Year can be transformative. It's not just a morale booster for the team, it's a marketing gold mine. A game that wins the award can see a surge in sales, especially with the Game Awards coming just before the holidays, as both new and returning players flock to see what made that game so special. It's the kind of exposure that the most aggressive
a lot of like my normie IRL friends, they know Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, they do. They're like, oh yeah, that's the game that was really good, right? They know Elden Ring, like, oh yeah, that's the game everybody said was really good. Like, yeah, that's the one.
Rising campaign can't buy, because it means that your game is genuinely one of the best of the year, if not
exactly, it was. Hi-Fi Rush, then Hi-Fi Rush Studios got... Nobody played Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was one of those games that, like, everybody said was really good, but nobody played it. Like, streamers are like that sometimes, too. Where, like, everybody says, like, oh yeah, this guy's such a great streamer. It's like, well, if they're so great, why did they get 800 viewers? They've streamed for 10 years. But it's like everybody circle jerks about how good they are. There's a lot of people that do shit like that. Rising Star. I think they should give it to her for the 3rd year. I do. I think it'd be really funny if they did that. It would be so funny.
Best of the year. Beyond the immediate revenue, it often cements the developer's reputation, making it easier for them to secure funding or creative freedom for future projects. That recognition becomes a signal to investors and publishers that the studio is capable of delivering on excellence, giving them the leverage they might not have had otherwise. While a lot of sales
This is true also with movies. Think about the creative liberty that a guy like Christopher Nolan has versus some random director that just basically makes whatever slop that they're supposed to make. That's the reason why it matters too. It's the same with like From Software. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go from our massive blockbuster Elden Ring hit and we're gonna make a mech game? A mech game? What? For the 7 guys in Japan that play them? And the one fat guy in America that still plays them? That's 8 people. Well, they did it anyway. It's called Armored Core 6. It's a great game.
Earn a lot of heads, continued recognition, player engagement, and media representation can sometimes push these games even further beyond.
Yeah, they do.
Just using Baldur's Gate 3 as an example, while it soared at the start, smashing sales records for the company, it was ultimately recognized as the ultimate game of the year, earning the award on every professional stage across the entire industry, totaling 7 different Game of the Year wins. As a result, the game.
Look at this guy. Like this, you're talking about a fantasy writer. Lawrence Stick. Expert writer. I immediately believe him. Of course he is. Look at him. Absolutely. Yeah. Of course.
The year wins. As a result, the game stayed in the news circuit, keeping invested players engaged in discussion outside of the game and helping it to reach the ears and eyes of more players around the world. Hell, it's still talked about and referenced even a year later. Well, this is a testament to the excellence of the game itself. Baldur's Gate 3 is genuinely one of the best games in the last decade, if not one of the best games of all time. There are quite a few people that are out there that keep seeing this game talked about, keep seeing it win, and say, fine, okay, I'll try it. Now, players...
as I said, I have a real-life friend of mine. Like, we went to, like, middle school, high school together, like, college together a little bit. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what are you playing? He's like, yeah, I'm replaying Cyberpunk 2077, and I've been trying to get back into Elden Ring, and on the weekends, I play Baldur's Gate 3 with my dad and my brothers. Like, that's like fucking S-tier normie gaming, and, I mean, that's some good fucking taste, isn't it? You know, like it was. Where does he find the time? I don't even know if he works 20 hours a week now. And he's getting paid over $100,000. He's doing tech support. He's talking about all these vacations he's gonna go on, like everything. Like he, like, you know, remember that one day that like all the systems went down? He woke up at like 9:30 and like it was already fixed. He's like, what the? 64 missed calls. What the? Oh, it's fixed. Okay, great. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a better life. Yeah, bro, this guy has it dicked. What job does he work at? I'm not gonna expose him. I don't want to mess with a good thing. I told him, I was like, man, like, you make sure, like, watch out. Like, you don't want to lose that job.
Also reap the benefits, perhaps not in the most obvious ways, but a Game of the Year win sets a bar for quality that other studios want to strive to meet. It tells the industry this is what resonated the most with an audience and critics alike, and developers take note of it. The success of games like Baldur's Gate 3, The Last of Us, Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild, all of these inspire trends in storytelling, world building, and gameplay mechanics that ripple into future titles. It raises expectations and, in many cases, pushes the industry forward. Even acknowledgement of smaller titles in other categories can give a moment to spotlight, bringing a niche experience to players who may not have discovered it otherwise. I can't tell you guys how...
Did Persona 5 win any awards, or Persona 3 Reload? I don't know. Because, like, I beat Metaphor. I actually think that game, if it wasn't for how good Black Myth Wukong was, I would think that game should get Game of the Year. Real shit.
Many times I found an indie title or a gem that I otherwise hadn't heard of, and it was just because it was nominated in the Game Awards. At its best, the Game Awards is more than just a vanity parade. It's a cultural touchstone for the gaming community, celebrating not only what games are, but what they can be in the end. They drive innovation, give well-earned recognition to creative teams, and expose players to games that they otherwise may have overlooked. So while the event is undeniably flashy, its impact is far from superficial. It's a celebration that benefits the entire ecosystem. Now, I'm not saying...
It's a good thing. Like, people want to win awards. That's why the award shows exist. Like, yeah, award shows are great. People care about it. People say you've turned into a certified yapper. What have I been doing for the past 4 years?
That the Game Awards create success by any means. It's just that they're giving them a little bit of an extra nudge, that little extra added momentum that's helping them get even more successful than what they were at the very start. And this is especially true for holiday buyers, because they walk into stores or maybe they see an ad pop up on social media or on an app or something like that. They see that a game has that Game of the Year sticker, and they think that it's a solid buy, a great Christmas gift for somebody. And chances are,
it is.
More times than not, they're right. That ends up being the case. I know for years, my mom almost always would buy me the Game of the Year game because it was the easiest choice for her to make. She didn't really understand the games, the hobby, or anything like that. And, you know, as a kid and then even then after, yeah, it worked almost every single time. But, you know, the thing is that it goes beyond that. It's also just the recognition of being nominated in the first place. In a lot of cases, especially for the players, this is a way for us to come across games that we otherwise didn't have any interest in, or maybe didn't.
Also for like games that you think deserve, like as like fans of a game, like I want to see that game do well. I want to see people say, "Bro, this shit was lit." I want to see it get the acknowledgement that I think it deserves.
Even see at all. I think one of the best examples of this is Balatro. The game has exploded all of a sudden. Now everybody's talking about it, and for the most part, the vast majority of these folks haven't even heard of it.
Yeah,
and
I
honestly, they should probably be thankful of that. I have over 400 hours in the game, and I wish that I could get that time back. No, I actually don't wish I could get that time back. I don't know where that time went. I thought I only played it for like 10 hours, but
that's
sometimes
a lot.
I hear the music in my sleep. That's the power of these awards. That's
so what they
can do for these companies.
Wow.
It's also what they can do for the players. Not only is it setting an example for games that we want in the future, and it's exposing players to games that we otherwise would have overlooked, but it's just that recognition that a lot of these studios deserve for the hard work that they put in delivering something that we actually wanted. And I think that's one of the most important part. But let's not kid ourselves. At the end of the day, we love validation. One of the reasons why we like social media.
Yeah, I want a pat on the head. I want them to tell me that I want the middle-aged man to tell me that my video game decision was the right call. You made the right decision in investing 200 hours of your life into this game. It's a good game.
Much just because we like seeing the little dots and likes and updates and all that good stuff, and we want to have our opinions validated, and we love to see the game that we love the most voted as the best game of the year. And you know, there are a couple surprises this year. Paul Tossi of Forbes wrote up a solid summary in an article titled...
See, this is the one I have to play. Like, I really feel like, actually, I feel like a dick sucker for not playing Astrobot. Like, I really need to play this game, try it out. Because I've heard so many things about this game being good. And, like, this is an Asmongold game. Like, I love games like this.
Got a Game Awards 2024 Game of the Year nomination, and what didn't. Writing the nominees, Astrobot, the platforming love letter to PlayStation, is one of the best entries in the genre in years, and it's no surprise that it's a celebration of not just the PlayStation IP, but what feels like gaming in general is nominated here. I would personally consider this the front runner. Metaphor ReFantazio.
I cannot imagine thinking that's the front runner over Black Myth Wukong or Metaphor ReFantazio. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot even imagine that. However, okay.
Stunning new RPG entry from Atlas of Persona fame. This latecomer immediately captivated audiences and launched it into a surprise Game of the Year contention, which has been realized with the nomination here.
He was right about everything, by the way.
Win. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This was effectively a sure thing in terms of landing a nomination, beloved by critics and most fans.
This is the one I think is going to win.
Less guaranteed, but it feels like it's dueling for the top 2 or 3 for sure. Black Myth Wukong. It has both a whole lot of fans and set explosive sales records thanks to its popularity globally, but especially in China. It's an extremely competitive year, and the game reviewed well, albeit not spectacularly, and I wasn't expecting it to make the cut. I was wrong. Here it is on the list, selected by a jury, landing a top spot. A win does feel difficult given the competition, but we'll see.
The reviews, I really wish that game reviewers would stop taking their reviews seriously, which I feel like is never going to happen, obviously. But, like, you can't self-reference your own opinion as, like, a surprise that I'm surprised that this game this game got nominated even though everybody in my industry said it was bad. Yeah, because who cares?
True. Unlike anything on this list, the Brilliant card game has been a sleeper mega hit all year, and I thought it might slide into a nomination here. You'd love to see it. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. In the last few days, there has been a flurry of drama over the fact that the Game Awards confirmed that, yes, DLC or expansions could be nominated for Game of the Year. While the immediate aftermath of this discussion was about a likely nomination or even win for Shadow of the Erdtree, it was still up to the voters whether they considered whether or not they would count it. Enough did, it seems. Could it win now? That would spark some more opinions. Now, these are the games that did not receive nominations.
I don't think a DLC should get Game of the Year. Because you can't play a DLC. You can only play the game that the DLC exists for. I think it's ridiculous.
Helldivers 2, an explosively popular game that shattered perceptions of whether Sony could produce a live service hit. It has certainly had its ups and downs since its release, but it's hard to forget that stellar initial launch period, and it's a multiplayer entry that failed to get a nomination. This may be the biggest snub if we're playing that game.
I think that Helldivers 2 was a very one-dimensional experience. I wish that Helldivers 2 had the same progression path and the same type of gameplay progression that, like, Space Marine 2 had. Or, like, I'm trying to think, like, maybe Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, like, some degree of, like, character progression. Because, like, that, yeah, in any shape or form, yeah, like, I just feel like you needed something.
Silent Hill 2. This one was bound to be controversial as a remake, but Silent Hill 2 put up a large amount of nominations overall before the Game of the Year slate was ever even announced.
I don't want to see a remake win Game of the Year. I don't want to see remakes, remasters, or DLCs win Game of the Year. I don't think they should be categorized. It's not fair.
However, land an actual Game of the Year nomination itself, which was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Dragon Age: The Veilguard. There was some theorizing that games journalists would rally behind this game to get it nominated, but despite its solid enough reviews and many Dragon Age...
Despite their reviews, who cares about the reviews?
Fans enjoying it, it's not exactly a product similar in the full-on glory days of BioWare, and as such, it did not land a nomination.
What he means to say is that the game sucked dick and nobody liked it. That's why it didn't sell very well. Yeah, that's what he meant, like, to say, yeah, it sucked dick, and so obviously they weren't going to nominate it, because it'd be embarrassing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a remake? What do you mean? What I mean is that I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake, or Rebirth, but a lot of people, like, I get half of people telling me that it's a remake, and half of people telling me that it's not a remake. So I don't know what to think, because I never played the original game, and I haven't played the remake either, so I try not to really have an opinion about it. But that's why I'm not categorizing it.
Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Certainly a departure from the traditional Zelda game, but still a bit of a surprise that it
They replaced Zelda with a girl? What the fuck? What is this gay feminist bullshit?
Represent Nintendo on the Game of the Year list. I suppose it's not a mainstream entry, but you don't often find Nintendo missing out on a best game contender during a given year. Tekken 8. A 90 Metacritic score might normally guarantee a placement on the list in most years, but Tekken suffers from being in the relatively niche fighting game genre where it will unfortunately be overlooked by most voters. It's likely a favorite for best fighting game of the year, obviously.
Yeah.
Now that we've gone over the summaries,
like
a few of these games stand out amongst the rest, and they've caused quite a bit of criticism. Helldivers 2 not being in the running, Silent Hill 2, while a remake, was still received incredibly well. Balatro is an indie hit that many haven't heard of, but it still made the list, and Dragon Age: The Veilguard, for all of the praise that it got, ended up just being in the accessibility category next to Diablo 4, which, let's be...
Oh, yeah, accessibility. What's the accessibility? Oh, he retard. Hey, you're in a Wii, you can't move your arms. That means you're probably stupid. Hey, okay, so you have to go get the, you see the blue triangle? You have to put it in a hole that's blue and it's a triangle. Hey, stupid. Hey, hey, I know you're quadriplegic, which means that you can't think. So we're going to tell you 5 times how to do this. And oh, no, we're not going to make the game easier to play. No. We're just going to make it so where everything dies in one hit. That's accessibility. Yeah, there you go. It's so patronizing. I can't believe it. It's dumbass proof. Yeah.
Be real, that's more or less them just thanking them for coming. I'm genuinely shocked that Palworld wasn't mentioned anywhere, and then again, the media really torched that game on release, but the biggest...
I think that Palworld, there's also another hidden agenda with Palworld, is that I think companies don't want to get on the bad side of Nintendo. I'm just being honest. And I can see why.
Thumb is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, a DLC. Yeah. This has to be the first time ever that we've ever seen a DLC creep into the category of Game of the Year, and people have been talking about it. While most people seem to generally agree that a DLC shouldn't be in the running for Game of the Year, and are upset that it likely will push out whatever their favorite game is, there are some in game development and games media that have begun to push back. As an example, Greg Miller of Kinda Funny Games tweeted out saying DLC should be eligible for Game of the Year. It's a game. It's
not a game. Can you play Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree? No. You can only play it if you played Elden Ring. It's not a game. That's like saying a patch should win out Game of the Year. Like it's factually untrue statement. Like can you play Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree? No, unless you've played the original game. And you cannot disconnect the existing game from the DLC and look at it objectively. It's dependent. Yeah, it's just not true.
People played this year. If it's that good, it should be honored. Thomas Mahler of Moon Studios also tweeted out saying, it seems that a few people are upset that the Elden Ring DLC has been nominated for the Game of the Year award at this year's Game Awards. Let me be clear, I'm 100% on board with this decision and told Jeff Keighley the same a few months ago. The industry is changing and we're moving from box products and sequelitis more towards games that are kept alive. It makes sense to do so. I think that in the future we're going to see more and more games that are treated as mere platforms that are receiving updates continuously, and we should celebrate those achievements just as much as we are celebrating entirely new products.
I agree. I just think, God, it sounds so bad. I think they should just be separate but equal, right? I think it's fine to do that. That's totally okay. But I just want to have another category for it. Like, just have like a DLC or like a patch update or something. Yeah, a new category. Like that's all I want. I mean, like, how about this? Get rid of the VR category. Nobody cares about that. And just add in DLC instead.
I could go through a ton of other examples. A lot of the conversation is revolving around the exact same thing, but I just want to say that the quality and vastness of the content is not in contention. Shadow of the Erdtree was exactly what fans wanted and more. It's one of the biggest highlights this year. It was one of the things I was looking forward to playing most this year.
I hated this dick sucker.
It doesn't matter if Shadow of the Erdtree was 4 times the size of Elden Ring. It's a DLC, not a game. You have to own the base version of Elden Ring to play it. It's not a standalone title. And from my perspective, this sets a bad precedent, not only for the Game Awards, but for the industry, especially because now we are just normalizing games, especially single-player games, becoming a continued platform that is recognized for the same achievements as newly minted titles. Developers making brand new games incurring significant...
Yeah, and that's another really big... He's bringing up such a great point right now, because what he's doing is he's saying that it's creating a feedback loop that keeps new games out of the market. Because like now there's a feedback loop where like old games can cannibalize hype from new games.
More
like,
risk
like
in
movies,
doing
you
so.
know?
They're not just continuing a game that's already successful. DLC is released every single year for an assortment of games. There is no reason that there shouldn't be a category for best DLC or for the games with the DLC to be included in best ongoing game. Are we supposed to believe that making games with the DLC...
Does he do... He doesn't do that. I thought only the one that's in the castle, Mesmer's Castle, does this. I don't think the ones in the outdoor areas that they do. There's a second boss one. Really? You killed it? Oh. You just killed it too fast. Of course I did. That makes sense. Because I'm really good at the game.
DLC to be included in best ongoing game. Are we supposed to believe that making a DLC is just as challenging as creating a new IP from the ground up? So from my perspective, it actually feels as though Shadow of the Erdtree is more or less a proxy that was put in place to block the nomination of something else entirely. Whether that was Space Marine 2 or Helldivers 2 or maybe even Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Let's see, what game do I think should have gotten in the Game of the Year nomination? I don't know. I feel like Space Marine 2 and Stellar Blade are pretty much the same. But I also think that like Black Myth Wukong and Metaphor are like such a clear cut above those games. Like those Stellar Blade and like Space Marine, they're like a solid 8. Where I feel like Metaphor and like what do you call it? The other one, Black Myth. They're at least a solid 9. Core Keeper? I don't know. Yeah, another Crab's Treasure. I would love to see indie games like that have their own category.
I realize this is more of a conspiracy than anything else, but keep in mind, Paul just said there was some rumblings of games journalists that were trying to push Dragon Age the Veilguard through, regardless of everything else that was going on around that game, and maybe forcing Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree into the conversation blocked that game or some other game from being nominated.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's too easy to vote for. It's likely the most widely played game this year by the most people and one of the most well-known names in all of gaming. It would be like if Baldur's Gate 3 released a DLC. It would be the exact same thing because it's the most popular game. It's one of the most talked about games, and everybody has seen it, especially if we're talking about the panelists that they've included in this, and we're going to talk a little bit on that as well. But I've seen a lot of chatter about Balatro specifically. While there's been some people pointing out Shadow of the Erdtree, a lot of it's actually been pointed at Balatro and saying that it doesn't deserve to be on the list. And while I think you could maybe make a case for some of the other indie hits that came out this year, the game deserves its nomination. For the people that are out there that are just...
Not every... Like, this is... Like, the only people that think it doesn't deserve a nomination are people that, like... I feel like they're like the worst kind of players, right? They're the people that are like, basically they decide, is this game a good or not? I don't know. How good are the graphics? How many people are playing it? Like, what? How do you make a decision based off of that?
Thinking that the game is purely poker. I'm sorry. You haven't played the game. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The amount of people that are...
I haven't played it either, to be
trying
fair.
to minimize this game while saying that all the other games are that much more innovative and creative when they're quite literally just copies of other games themselves is ridiculous to me. It is. And plus, on top of that, I just personally really like the story of how the game came to be in the first place. Guys working a part-time job or a full-time job while he, at the exact same time, is working on a game for like 2 years, trying to put this together by himself to make a portfolio so that he can get a job in game development.
Well, now he's going to be able to get a job.
It blows up. It's already spawned copycat games. It's sold millions of copies. It really is a innovative, interesting game. Super fun to play. I recommend it to everybody. I made a video on it like 7 months ago. You guys need to go watch that. It was actually really good. But it's one of those...
I love that, bro. Like, yeah, my video that I made was so good. You guys should go watch my video. What a good video that was. Absolutely. I love it.
Games that I definitely think does deserve its spot. With that said, I will say that there is some serious inconsistency with some of these nominations. And I think the reason why is because of how these awards are being conducted. Yeah. Not only is it some of the changes that they made, to their website, to their rulings, to the games that could be nominated, but it's also the paneling. And I understand why players are upset about a lot of the nominations or how this is being handled, because they don't feel like they're being represented.
No.
To be honest with you, with some of the things I've seen people talking about, well, they don't want to see you represented. Ever.
Yeah.
In an article from The Gamer titled "The Game Awards Has a Bigger Problem Than Shadow of the Erdtree," the writer Stacey Henley effectively hand waves the players' questions and criticisms, saying that the rules haven't changed last minute, and these awards were always going to be controversial. While at the exact same time, the article only cites itself and refers to itself when using that as proof, literally every...
Oh, man. Who does this?
Every single link on this entire article is just referring to another one of their own articles or another writer from The Gamer. This article is all in response to people taking notice of a few things before the nominations were revealed and some of the changes that were made over on the Game Awards official website. One of the first being that DLCs were now recognized where they hadn't been in the past. Again, something that feels artificial, especially for this occasion specifically, because if not, then we would have seen Cyberpunk's Phantom Liberty nominated last year, but we didn't.
I feel like it should have. I really feel like, it's like, what about Phantom Liberty and like that one Witcher DLC? What about Iceborne back in the day?
Now, along with all this, players also noticed that the voting is calculated with a voting jury taking up a whopping 90% of the vote, while players and fans only make up 10%.
That's called democracy.
Meaning that players are only a deciding factor in the event of a tie, and even then, their votes are likely not even a factor. And that's the reason why players are raising questions over the awards, because they feel like they aren't being heard or represented. And in fact, we know that we're not being represented. The panel of judges are from outside outlets that have nothing to do with gaming at all.
Exactly.
Looking at some of the outlets in the U.S., we have Entertainment Weekly, the LA Times, the New York Times, Pride.com, Rolling Stone, the
It's fucking ridiculous. It is. It's fucking absolutely fucking ridiculous. Pride. Yeah, this is about being gay. Like, what does this have to do with video games? NPR, Variety? What the fuck? What is this? Like, what is this shit? Gay people play games? Yeah, they do. You know what games they play? They play Elden Ring. They play the same fucking games that we do. Having an advocacy group for a sexual identity doesn't make sense for a video game fucking award show. It's ridiculous. This is an identity advocacy group. It's got nothing to do with video games.
NPR,
it's not like, oh, well, gay people like these video games and straight people like these video games. Like, that's not like, that's like a YouTube comment. Really, it's not real. Nobody thinks this.
Looking at the UK, we have Discussing Films and The Mirror. Many of these sites and magazines are nothing more than celebrity gossip and tabloid magazines. Nothing representative of gaming culture, the perspective of players, or representative of the industry in any way. I'll be straight with you guys. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. I know that Jeff Keighley has been pushing for the award show to be more like the Grammys or something like that.
It's so fucking cringe. Oh my god, it's so fucking cringe. How do you want it to be like the Grammys? Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Stop trying to copy Hollywood.
Annie each year, but this feels like groveling at Hollywood's doorstep more than anything else.
Yeah.
Jeff, we're winning. Our industry dwarfs music and television by a country mile. We do not need their approval, and frankly, the last thing that any video game player wants is Hollywood's influence in the gaming industry. Henley
exactly. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get another fucking Spider-Man movie by the way, he's totally fucking up this fight. I just want to let you guys know, like, massively fucking this fight up.
What's up the awards being controversial no matter what because of toxic gamers hand-waving their concerns, saying maybe it's more controversial this year because of everything that's going on in gaming. There are a few who dread Shadow of the Erdtree's potential nomination on quality. It's roundly considered an excellent expansion to an excellent video game. The issue is the principle of the thing, and gaming has been short on principle this year. A groundswell of toxicity has risen unchecked. Gaming has been short.
It's more controversial, but the issue is the principle of the thing? What? Gaming has been short on principle? What kind of shit-talking retard writes something like this? What the fuck do you even mean? Holy
shit. On principle this year. A groundswell of toxicity has risen unchecked this year in gaming.
You're welcome. It's me. They're thinking about me. It's all about me. I think everybody probably watching the YouTube video see, oh my god, he did it again. Welcome. I did this.
An outsized influence in the YouTube algorithm and on
yeah, they're mad because YouTube videos are getting more views than their website. Yeah, okay, here we go. You know what we need to fucking do? I need to make my own print website and make print media good again. Because I think that print media is so important. I think that print media is the best way to communicate an idea. There's no messenger. There's just words on a page. Is it true or not? When was the last time? I want to ask you guys a question. When was the last time that a piece of print media was important for us culturally? I can think of one example, and I don't think it's a great example. Good question. Yeah. I'd say probably Project 2025, right? That'd be the closest thing that I can think of. My point, no, not an event, but an actual piece of print media that's discussed on a cultural level. We don't have this anymore. Like, nobody knows how to read anymore. People don't know how to use a book. It's bad. It's real bad. Nintendo Power? Yeah. 50 Shades of Grey? Maybe you're right. Yeah, Twilight. I mean, that's you? Nah, bro. Like, I'm talking about... I think this is a cultural thing. I do. You can't even read the tutorial, so you're right. Well, I can, just not on stream. Anyway, I feel like print media is really important. And the fact that there is no place to get print media that has any integrity at all is actually a huge problem. Have you guys ever written something out and then after you wrote it out, you understood it better because you wrote it out? Yeah. It's really sad. It is. It's so sad.
The Everything app, as long as it aligns with Elon Musk's increasingly erratic views.
What do you mean, as long as it aligns with? Like, who's getting banned? Shut up, you fucking retards. What a fucking idiot. What a fucking idiot. No, oh, why'd you get banned? Yeah, oh, I don't know. Are you doxing somebody?
It is still disheartening to see gaming companies shove their fingers in their ears, though it's impressive that they managed to do this while their heads are buried in the sand at the same time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But I actually really fucking hate whenever people say that about X. It's so fucking annoying. And the reason why they say it is so they can create parity between their own censorship and the censorship that Elon Musk is doing. People aren't getting censored on X. I see stupid commie posts all the time. Constantly. I see them more than one a day. The idea that, like, people are getting censored for certain opinions on X is just bullshit. Yeah, it's so fake. Yeah, and all they're only doing that so they can pretend like Elon Musk is doing the same thing that they were doing, but he's not. It's not what's happening. Being community noted counts as censorship for them? Yeah. Facts or censorship?
Though it's impressive that they managed to do this while their heads are buried in the sand at the same time. I don't expect Keeley to address this on the show, and I don't think he could say anything to help, but his stay out of everything attitude will not wash this time.
What do you think? Do you think Jeff Keeley's accountable to you? You're a fucking loser. You're a loser writing an article hoping that you're going to get $30 from ad revenue from it. Jeff Keeley's a millionaire that puts on a show that has celebrities go to it multiple times a year.
Be in the meat grinder with the rest of us, and it remains to be seen how a man buoyed by populism and never having a public opinion beyond loving a video game deals with that. She then goes on to say that if Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade don't sweep the awards, then gamers are going to feel like the entire thing is rigged. And after stating,
well, Stellar Blade I don't think is, I think Stellar Blade's a really great game, but I don't think it should win like Game of the Year. I feel like maybe, like, I don't even know, like, really what maybe art direction, something like that. Stellar Blade could maybe win, but, like, how does Stellar Blade beat Metaphor with art direction? I don't think it does.
When these folk demand Black Myth and Stellar Blade sweep the board, I see replies like, what about Final Fantasy? What about Astrobot? What about Metaphor? What about Infinite Wealth? What about Dragon's Dogma? What about
Dragon's Dogma? What about Shut Up and Play the Game, you fucking retard? Dragon's Dogma 2 sucked. It was a tech demo for Monster Hunter Wilds. It was a joke. Biggest disappointment. I put 100 hours into it. That's how I know.
Balatro,
what about dog shit?
1,000 times Resist? And the reply I see from these apparent fans is always the same. I haven't played most of them. These people don't even have opinions on games. They just like being mad. They're the only people who ever cared about Dustborn or Unknown 9, and yet they parade around their heads as if they bested Rob Stark. If this
no, it wasn't Rob Stark. It was more like Tommen, because the games killed themselves.
Campaign had started a few months earlier, Hogwarts Legacy being snubbed at the Game Awards 2023 would have been huge news. People that like Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade are immediately looped into the group of these people, games that only had controversy because it was manufactured by Games Media, and the players felt that they had to stand up to protect those games that they love and enjoyed, and they want to make sure that those games are recognized. Right, so the only solution to players not feeling represented by the industry is to have the industry speak out against those players that you disagree with, to put them in their place. And you're upset that Jeff Keeley doesn't want to get caught in the middle of that and feels like it's not his place to do so.
It's not. It's not. He's trying to run a show. Like, I like Jeff Keighley a lot. I disagree with some of the decisions he's making with the Game Awards, but as a person and as an event planner, I tremendously respect him. Absolutely. Yeah, he doesn't wow, Jeff Keighley. Oh no, Jeff Keighley won't carry our cross. He's not gonna let his show be a platform for our identity politics. Oh no, he's not talking about our issues on his show. Oh wow, why won't he do it? Why won't he talk about our problems? Get the fuck out of here. So pathetic.
No different than the media campaign to get Keighley to say anything about industry layoffs.
So fucking
that would have any impact outside of virtue signaling over something that you can't control and ultimately don't even understand.
Well, that's the mind of these people. Do you remember this, guys? Where they were trying to guilt trip Jeff Keighley into talking about the what do you call it? About the layoffs in gaming. So fucking obnoxious. So fucking obnoxious. Jeff under so much pressure? Yeah, for nothing. Absolutely nothing. We lost E3 and boot babies for this. Well, I feel like he needs to boot these babies. These guys are losers. They're awful.
You're wondering where all of this is coming from. It's because we're already dealing with so many issues where players are not feeling represented by these gaming outlets. Our perspectives are not shared, and oftentimes it feels like the media's perspective seems adversarial to its own audience. It
is adversarial. They talk down to their audience all the time, and I think that's why everybody hates gaming media, and that's why people hate media in general. That's why places like MSNBC are having to fire people, and Comcast is putting them on sale. The reason why is because it's become basically a high society club of people who think that they're better than everybody else. And it's obnoxious to anybody else who's not part of that group. That's the truth. It's elitism. Yeah, well, and it's not even that it's elitism. It's unearned elitism. These people are so self-serving, so glad to see Keighley ignore them. Yeah, they're nothing.
Players are speaking out. It's only controversy because you made it controversy. The disparity in representation of the Game Awards voting process highlights a troubling disconnect between the event and the games that it's supposed to celebrate. When 90% of the vote is controlled by a jury of industry professionals